right, good evening. I'm going to do some notes for indicator 17. We are starting that lesson today. Let's make sure that camera looks nice. So we started that on Friday where we simplified powers. And today we're actually going to work with some properties of monomials when you have to multiply and when you have to raise them to another power. So the first thing that we are going to do is, first of all, this is indicator 17. We're going to call this monomials day 1. And we're actually going to do a 3-day lesson here. So we'll have notes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then we'll review everything from indicator 17 on Thursday and quiz on Friday. So the very first thing I want to talk about is if you have to multiply monomials together. So a monomial is just one term. Now it can have a number and variables in it, but it's just one term. And so the first thing that we do here is we are going to multiply the coefficients. And then we add the powers. And we're going to do a few examples. I actually have 3 of them to do. So sometimes you'll see just numbers, sometimes you see just variables, sometimes you see both. And so the very first thing I want to do, and we want to add powers with like bases. All right, so this first one we have here is 5 times 5 squared times 5 to the 4th. So if we are looking at these are all terms, these are all monomials. We have 1, 2, so this is a monomial, this is a monomial, and this is a monomial. But they all have like bases. The base here is 5. And then the exponents are, the first term, the exponent's actually a 1. We just never write it. And then 2 and 4. So on this one, 5 is a base. It's actually not a coefficient. So we simply just add our powers. So because we don't have a number in front of this to multiply it with, in this case, this does have a power of 1. So these are the bases. So we do not multiply the 5s. We simply just add 1 plus 2 plus 4, and we say 5 to the 7th power. And the reason why we do that is because if you wanted to expand it, 5 to the 1st just means multiply 5 one time. Now 5 squared means multiply it twice, 5 times 5. This one here, 5 to the 4th, means 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So what you are actually doing is you are multiplying 5 times itself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And then you can use your calculator. I'm actually going to cheat and use my graphing calculator. It has that nice little exponent button. 5 to the 7th is 78,125. And there we have it. Now, the next example I have is if we have some monomials, some terms being multiplied together. And this time we have coefficients and we have variables. So in this case, the 3 and the 5, or negative 3 and 5, we're going to multiply those together because they are, in this case, the coefficient because they don't have a power with them and they don't have like bases. So they're coefficients. So we multiply those. So we have negative 3 times positive 5 gives me a negative 15. Now for my x's, I have like bases. I have an x to the 3rd and I have an x to the 4th. So we add those powers together, which makes x to the 7th. And then on the last part, the y's have like bases. So a 2 plus a 10 gives me y to the 12th. And there it's simplified. Now the last one I have for you like this. Let's take 6p squared q to the 7th r to the 5th times p, q, r to the 4th. All right, so in this case, we have a coefficient of 6 here. The second part does have a coefficient of 1. We just never write it. But 6 times 1 would give us 6. Now for the p's, we have a 2 here, but don't forget that does have a 1. So 2 plus 1 does give me p to the third, or p cubed. You might hear that. On the q's, they have like bases. We have a 7 here, but we also have another one there that we just never write that exponent. So 7 plus 1 gives me a total of a power of 8 for q. And the last one for the r's, 5 plus 4 gives me r to the 9th. All right, so that's part 1. So on your homework assignment today, you will see some like this. Now, there's going to be some problems today if you have parentheses. Parentheses. Okay, make sure I spell it right. All right, so the first thing we are going to do is you are going to raise the power to the coefficient. And the second thing we're going to do is multiply the powers. All right, so the first example I have for you is pretty simple. In parentheses, I have a to the third, but I'm taking that to the 5th power. So what that is actually telling me to do, if I wanted to expand this would tell me to take a cubed times a cubed times a cubed times a cubed times a cubed. So I'm multiplying a to cubed, or a to the 3rd power, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So then based on what we did before, when we were multiplying, we add the powers. So 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Now, if you guys look at those two numbers there, if you just take 3 times 5, don't you get that answer? So, I mean, if you wanted to expand it and then add your powers, that would be an okay thing to do. Or you can simply say 3 times 5 is 15 and go straight to it. All right, now the second example, I'm going to add a coefficient of 2. And let's have some variables. And then we're taking that to another power. So on this one, we're going to follow our steps. Raise the power to the coefficient. So the coefficient is 2, the power is 3. So we would write that as 2 to the 3rd. Now the second part, I'm supposed to multiply my coefficients for x. So the power of x is 2 times a 3. And then for my y's, it's a power of 4 times the 3. So we can simplify that. 2 to the 3rd means 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Then multiply my powers, x to the 6th and y to the 12th. And that's our simplified answer. Now, you could also expand that as well. Sorry for my camera being a little off on that. But I do want to show you guys an alternate way if you wanted to expand that. What that is telling you to do is everything in the parenthesis gets multiplied by itself 3 times. So that really would mean 2x squared y to the 4th times 2x squared y to the 4th times 2x squared y to the 4th. And then you could just 2 times 2 times 2 gives me 8. 2 plus 2 plus 2 gives me 6. 4 plus 4 plus 4 gives me 12. So whenever we just raise the power and multiply our exponents, that's essentially what we're doing when we expand it. It's just a little bit more of a shorthand thing. So for my very last example, again, very similar to this one. All right, I have 5a to the 4th b squared, and we're going to let's square it. So that means we're going to raise our power to our coefficient. Our coefficient's 5, the power's 2, so that's 5 squared. Then I'm going to multiply my powers. So a to the 4th gets multiplied by 2 because that's what's outside the parentheses. Then my b squared also gets multiplied by a 2 right there. So then we can evaluate 5 squared means 5 times 5, which is 25. Then we have a, 4 times 2 gives me 8, and b, 2 times 2 gives me b to the 4th. And that is how we simplify. So I do want to remind you guys today that I am in meetings, so I'm not going to be available Google Meet. But if you guys have questions, don't hesitate to email me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you all on Tuesday.